Arch Advocate Podcast. Good news, everyone. Good news. Someday you're going to die. We're going to get into that here in just a second. But first, I'm going to read your daily devotional to you. Very important to start off your day with the right mindset. This devotional is called Jesus Calling. It was written by Sarah Young, a longtime missionary, and it is written in the first person, and I read. I am ever so near to you, hovering over your shoulder, reading every thought. People think that thoughts are fleeting and worthless, but yours are precious to me. I smile when you think lovingly of me. My spirit, who lives within you, helps you to think my thoughts. As your thinking goes, so goes your entire being. Let me be your positive focus. When you look to me, knowing me as God with you, you experience joy. This is according to my ancient design. When I first crafted man, modern man seeks his positive focus elsewhere. In sports, sensations, acquiring new possessions. Advertising capitalizes on the longing of people for a positive focus in their life. I planted that longing in human souls, knowing that only I could fully satisfy it. Delight yourself in me, and let me become the desire of your heart. Listen, there's some people that are saying, oh, Pete, man, your show's getting a little apocalyptic. Okay, fair enough. Well, who isn't apocalyptic? You got the Christian people saying the end is nigh, right? That we're in the end times. And then you've got the atheists saying, oh, it's global warming, man. The polar ice caps are going to melt. We're all going to die in 12 years. Who isn't apocalyptic right now? Now listen, let's get to a couple of things here. I want to talk about February 23rd. Tommy Robinson is going to be releasing a documentary called Panodrama. It kind of looks like Pandora, but it says Panodrama. That's February 23rd. Now just as a show of support, listen, I'm a big fan of Tommy Robinson. If you're not down with Tommy, go find another podcast. This isn't for you. Tommy Robinson is a man who stood up against grooming gangs in England. These grooming gangs, they were taking girls and underage girls and grooming them for sex acts, okay? And Tommy Robinson stood up against that. And there was something that these grooming gangs all had in common. They all had a, shall we say, an ideology that was all in common with one another, and this man stood up against it. And what did he receive as a reward? He got thrown in jail without due process, without being charged with anything. He was just tossed in jail. He lost a bunch of weight. You know, these are very strange times that we're living in, and you need to keep your eye on it. Because what goes on in England is the same thing that's going on in America, only it's to a different degree, and they're at different chambers, if you will, different levels of the game. Don't be afraid. Good always wins. Here's the good news, people. You are going to die. Now let me put it to you this way. And keep in mind, this is, Tommy Robinson will most likely get murdered. Understand that. That guy has put himself on the front line, and there's, people on the front line tend to die first. So you need to be aware of who this guy is and what he's doing. You need to be aware of how to support his family should the event of his death happen, because the rest of us are going to have to pay for his children's life. He is sacrificing his life, and if the Lord does require of him to make that ultimate sacrifice, the rest of us have to gather together. Now, this is a scary thought for a lot of people. So let me put it to you this way. What if, you are going to die. Now, let's say you die in a fashion that I described to you. You get arrested. You get drawn out in front of a crowd of people who hate you. And in front of that crowd, what they do is they tie you to a table and open up your belly and remove your innards while you are still living. And then after that, they chop off your head. And then after that, they do what's called quartering. And that's where they cut your body into, well, they say 4 different pieces, but technically it's 5. And they take the pieces of your body and they display it all over your country land, right? So that other people can see this is what you do when you stand up against authority. And then they put your head, they mount your head on a symbol of the nation's power. Say like a Capitol building or a bridge, like a famous bridge. You say, well, Pete, that sounds horrible. Well, enter William Wallace. That's what happened to William Wallace. And there's a reason why we still speak of William Wallace to this day. There's a reason why that movie that Mel Gibson made, and by the way, William Wallace, if you want to read about William Wallace, you can go pick up a book called Fox's Book of Martyrs and read about that guy. And the descendants of William Wallace are still alive today. And those men and women they walk through their lives with their heads held high. Because they know, that was my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. That's who I come from. That's where I hail from. I descend from a man who stood up for his faith. And he said, no, you can't rape our women anymore. You can't take our things anymore. And you can't tell us that we cannot arm ourselves and defend ourselves anymore. No, I'm going to take a stand against the government. A government that, as governments always do, they turn towards tyranny. William Wallace stood up against that. You would only be so lucky to die a martyr's death, like William Wallace did. That's the times that we're living in. You have to understand, in Scotland, where William Wallace made his mark, just the other day, a woman was arrested in front of her children and incarcerated for 7 hours. Arrested in front of her little children and thrown into jail for calling a man a man. That's right. That's where, again, you are here. This is what's happening in the Christian world. This is happening. You need to be aware of it. And you need to decide what side you're on. Nobody, again, I'm not a very big fan of picking sides, right? I don't like that idea of like, well, you're in this camp and you're in that camp, but it's like, well, you've left me no choice. You arrest a woman for calling a man a man. You arrest her in front of her children. Okay, you've chosen a side, and I am starkly on whatever the other side of that is, that's the side I'm on. You want to come and arrest me in front of my children? Well, try that in America. Try that where we have the right to bear arms. There's a reason why the police and the FBI and the CIA, there's a reason why they don't move more quickly. It's because they know they'll get shot. Do you understand that? You must defend yourself. In Scotland, you must defend yourself. England, you have to defend yourself. These times that we're living in, do you think that when England became the most surveilled state on the planet, where there's just cameras everywhere, and and instead of going after rape gangs who all have something in common, an ideology in common, instead of going after those people, they went after a guy who played a joke on his girlfriend and taught his little dog to raise his hand like the Roman salute. That's where we're living right now. It's tyranny. Tommy Robinson has a documentary coming out on February 23rd. You need to support it. You need to watch it. You need to find out what's going on. And it's about the BBC. The BBC that gave us such hits as Doctor Who, right? Listen, I used to love the BBC. They have a different way of entertaining people that I respect. Like in America, you get 7 seasons of a good show, maybe. Not the BBC, boy. If it works, they just keep going with it. Doctor Who's been going for decades and decades. I respect that, but at the same time, it's like there's social programming going on with the BBC. It's like every single show they have, it's like, oh boy, Let me guess, the white guy's married to a black girl and the black guy's married to a white girl. It's like every single show, dude. Every single show. Do you have any idea how low of a percentage that interracial couples represents? I'm not against it. But it's like, dude, it's like you're trying to sell me something. Not everybody is married to somebody outside of their own race. Most people are married inside of their own race. That's just normal. That's what is normal. Percentage-wise, mathematically-wise, that's normal. And what you're trying to show us is not normal. And you're trying to pass it off as like, oh, this is everybody. It's really bad. I told you guys, I met these people in Spain while I was in Barcelona a couple years ago. And this group of people had just come from a big festival, like a Burning Man festival, only it was in Spain. And they'd all just gotten off the train, and so I started hanging out with them. I hung out with them for several hours that night. And this one lady, I had just met her, and within moments of us meeting, she started giving me this chronicle of all the black dudes she had slept with. She was a white lady. And I was just like, whoa, okay, number one, your sex life is not, I don't want to know this. Like, this is your private, sacred thing. And furthermore, you don't have to convince me that you're not a racist by taking in a bunch of black dudes. That the fact that you're so insistent on telling me this information tells me that you've got some sort of racial issue. This is very bizarre, and that's England. That's where England is now. It's really weird. And so, look, support Tommy Robinson. Watch. It's February 23rd. Watch his documentary. Right, there's some really weird stuff going on. Listen, I've mentioned this before. Jimmy Savile was probably the biggest child rapist / child murderer ever in recorded history. And he was knighted by the Queen. He owned a huge hospital, right? He was a man of the people. He devoted all of his money to, this hospital. Well, no, he was using that hospital to take children, rape them, and murder them. That's a fact. This guy was knighted by the Queen, and after that investigation was over, there were scores of government workers and even royals that were found out and prosecuted. See, this is the thing that you have to keep in mind. Evil is at work, and so is good. Good always wins. Scotland, you're not going to win. There's too many Scottish people that remember William Wallace and remember that that's who they truly are in their blood. They're free. You can try it all you want, United Kingdom. You can try it all you want. You can try to oppress the Scottish, and you can try to oppress the Irish, and you can try to oppress your own people, but ultimately, we are Christians. We are free. We have been set free. And there's no hope for you. There's no hope in the darkness. There's no hope for the people who bump around in the darkness. And that's it. Watch Tommy Robinson. Now moving on, Jeff Bezos just got caught sleeping around on his wife. I don't really care about that. I think, I think that he's a scrawny piece of garbage, and now that he's the richest man in the world, of course, he's got temptations that he would not have if he were not who he is, whatever. I don't care about that. What I do care about is the fact that he owns the Washington Post, and now he's paying his own journalists to write really good stories about him. That's manipulation. That's where I come in. That's where I come in. Jeff Bezos, Amazon.com has received over $500 million in government contracts from the CIA to surveil the people of the United States with facial recognition software. All right, so again, that's not a conspiracy theory, by the way. That's public knowledge. That's for the public. Everybody knows that. And then you take into you pepper in the fact that the head of the CIA was a communist, a registered voting communist. How did this happen? Right? How did we get so lazy as a people that we allowed that to happen? We allowed a communist to run the CIA and get $500 million to give to Jeff Bezos so that they could spy on American people. Now listen, that by itself even isn't really like the most alarming thing. The thing is that this is going to come to a head. And you must not be afraid. You mustn't be afraid not even of death. You can't be afraid of death. Because if you die for the freedom of your children and the freedom of your community, guess who you are? You're William Wallace. And people will sing your praises and it will echo throughout the rest of time. That's what happens to martyrs. Right? That's what happens when people stand up against the oppression of the weak and the defenseless. Go read Fox's Book of Martyrs. It's all right there. There's a reason, okay, everybody has a fear of death, but it's not really the fear of death. It's the fear of the unknown and the fear of not death, but dying, right? The dying process is what most people are afraid of because it's painful and it's embarrassing and generally takes a long time, you know? There's people, like I told you guys, several weeks ago, my father died. But he was dying his whole life. He was drinking and doing cocaine and running around just banging everything that moved. He was dead his whole life. His death took decades. And that's how most people die, you know what I mean? It takes like a long time. And people are afraid of that. But when you look at what's coming, right? You have to make a stand. You have to stand up for what's right. You have to make a stand against. You have to demand that we find out what happened with the Clinton Foundation as it applies to Haiti. We have to find out where those over 20,000 children went under the Obama administration that just went missing from the border. Oh, they came across with their relatives. You didn't check. You have no way of knowing that those kids were related to those people who said that they were their parents, and now they're off the books. You can't even find them. Oprah Winfrey promoted this John of God guy who was running a baby farm in a sex slave camp. That's where we're at right now, and these people cannot win. I'm not saying they shouldn't win. I'm not saying you should fight harder so that they don't win. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying they can't win. We have the book, and you can flip right back to the ending if you want, and just read how it all ends. They don't win because they can't. They live in darkness. God always wins because he's in charge of everything. And you get to participate. The way that William Wallace participated, you are allowed to participate in that. And if you do it prayerfully and carefully, then you get to be in the Hall of Fame with William Wallace. And the people like him. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I mean, I could go on and on. Watchman Nee. And yes, that was I believe that was his actual name. But those are Hall of Famers. And they stood their ground for what they believed in. And for people that, it's really funny. Here, let me get into this. I'll break into another segment. So you look at the Green New Deal. All right, so the Green New Deal, right? Oh, we want to, in 10 years, we want no more cars and no more planes, and everybody should be on a train, and no more fossil fuels. Okay. All right, let's hear you out. Oh, and we just want to give money away to people that are unable to work and unwilling to work. You look at how they listen. This is what's hilarious about this. So they said that. That was actually on her website, and then they had to take it down because they realized that's silliness. You're talking silly, crazy talk. 28-year-old bartender. You're talking crazy talk. And you go to the liberals and you say, well, what about that? Why did it say that? And they say, oh, no, she didn't actually say that. That was actually a Republican hit job. And then we go back and we find out, like, no, she actually did say that. That was on her website, and they took it down, and they removed the entire frequently asked questions sections to do it. That's a fact. These people are cowards. John Brennan, the head of the CIA, the communist, coward. Oprah Winfrey, John of God, Barack Hussein Obama. Oh, by the way, you guys should really Google the meaning of the word Barack, the meaning of the word Hussein. And then ask yourself, why did you change your name to that? It's, again, you people, you don't, for you people who don't think it's coming, you people who don't think it's coming, it's already here. It's already here. Why would Susan Rice take a job at Netflix? Right? Why would Susan Rice, a high-level member of the Obama administration, you remember Susan Rice? Well, she's working for Netflix now. And it just so happens that they just cut a huge check to the Obama family and to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, $10 million for her. You don't see anything. There's nothing. You don't see anything there. That's weird. That's weird that you don't see it. So listen, it's this whole Green New Deal thing. I don't care about that. I don't care when people say silly things. Oh, remember there was that guy years ago, Dennis Kucinich, and he was running for president as some sort of communist or independent or something. He said, I want to make college education free for everybody. That was his big platform. But it's the minute it's like, okay, and I wish that I could have a car that is fueled by dirt. Okay, that's fair. I do sincerely wish that I could build an internal combustion engine out of wood and have it run off of dirt. But the fact is I can't. You want to have college education be free for everybody, and yet you don't want to address how the professors are going to get paid and the janitor at the college is going to get paid. You don't want to address any of that. You just want college for free. Okay, well, nonsense, boy. Let's talk about your green new pie in the sky deal. Oh, I just want there to be no more burning of fossil fuels. It's like, well, okay, let's hear your alternative. Oh, wind and solar. Well, the thing is that we have not advanced technologically enough as a species to be able to pull that off. You bring this up to these people and they wince instead of facing it, instead of looking into the eyes of it and facing it. They'll say, "Oh no, you're lying." It's like, no, you're lying. You're lying. You said that you didn't say that, and here's proof. You actually did say that. Oh no, I didn't say that. That's cowardice. And it only results one way. Cowardice ends in failure. That's who these people are. John Brennan is a coward. Adam Schiff is a coward. Peter Strzok, all these people, they're cowards. You get Peter Strzok up on that Senate committee hearing, and they're like, well, what about these texts? You don't think, do you think that this kind of, would let people know that you have a bias and that you're trying to take down the President of the United States? He's like, oh no, those were just private. It's like, dude, do you think everybody's stupid? Do you think that you could just sit there with your shit-eating grin and tell the American world, tell the American public that you have no bias in this? So you think everybody's stupid? Okay, so you have a very negative worldview. There are stupid people in the world, but not that many. They don't represent the majority. The rest of us saw that and saw for what it is. This, again, I don't really care about the Green New Deal, news itself. I care about, the darkness You know what I mean? I care about like this thing that they're trying, and they think that they're going to win by bumping around in the darkness. They can't win because they can't even see. And this is the problem with demons. They bump around in the dark. Their merchandise is weakness and cowardice and all things darkness. That's who they are. They can't win. Representative, what is her name? Ilhan Omar, the Somalian immigrant. Like, she's not American. She's from Somalia. Somalia, by the way, has a national average IQ that is lower than the world's smartest chimpanzee, Coco. Literally. Right? She's now a sitting U.S. congressperson. This is hilarious. So she comes out, she makes a bunch of anti-Semitic comments, which, by the way, as Owen Benjamin keeps pointing out, that's anti-Semitic is not really a word, right? A Semite is somebody who hails from somewhere in the Middle East, right? It encompasses a lot of people, including Phoenicians. And I don't think that there are such a thing as Phoenicians anymore, but yeah, anybody. Saudis are Semites. Egyptians are Semites. Phoenicians, Israelis, Palestinians, Iraqis, Syrians, they're all Semites. So to say anti-Semite is all you're saying is like, yeah, I'm anti anybody who comes from that region. No, what she said was anti-Jew. She hates Jews. She hates Jews. And she made a bunch of statements saying that she hates Jews and she hates Israel, and that's her thing. And then she was called out on it, and she's like, oh, no, I didn't say that. I didn't mean that. I didn't say that. And then her own people called her out on it. And finally, and again, the left eating the left. Her own people pressured her into saying, like, she's like, oh, I apologize unequivocally. I'm so sorry. Well, it's too late. We know what's in your heart now. We know what's in your heart. And this is the thing, is that all of this stuff is becoming more clear. From the Joe Rogan thing with Jack Dorsey. And again, it's so bizarre to see people's allegiance to the darkness. I was getting a bunch of comments yesterday like, whoa, man, you can let Joe Rogan make a mistake. Yeah, I can let him make a mistake if he apologizes. But until then, I'm going to hold his feet to the fire. Right? We all, for those of us who were like alive and cognizant and of like career working age when Bill Clinton was being impeached for lying to Congress, right? We all remember that. It was like, dude, this could have gone down so much smoother if you just would have came out and said, yeah, I was banging the help. What do you want from me? I'm the most powerful man in the world, man. Sometimes you don't understand how many women throw themselves at me, man. The pressure just got to be too much. I did what I did. So what? That's all he had to do, and the whole thing would have, poof, just disappeared. Right? But no, he ran and hid in the darkness because his sexual life is spent in the darkness. He flies out to Jeffrey Epstein's rape island, where they rape children on that island, and he did it, I think it's like, it was a lot. It's like 23 times or something like that. I don't know. It was a lot. Jeffrey Epstein, the convicted pedophile, is good buddies with Bill Clinton, and that's why Bill Clinton couldn't say the truth back then, is because he has a whole life of sexual secrets. Over 17 women confirmed have accused him of rape. Many different payouts were made. That guy's a rapist. That's what I'm saying. Like, these people, look, I'm not saying that, like, if Bill Clinton confessed to pedophilia, the pedophilia that he himself has engaged in, I'm not saying that I would forgive that. No. I'm saying, like, on the little things, like you being a corporate shill for Twitter and for, George Soros's foundations and speaking on behalf and backing up George Soros. Like, you could come out and be like, look, man, the money was just too good. I couldn't say no. But you know what? From now on, I'm just going to sell, I'm just going to sell my vitamins that I sell at onit.com and my kettlebells and whatever, because I've got enough money. Then it'd be like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, you didn't actually hurt anybody, right? You told some lies, and as long as you realize that you've told those lies and that lying is wrong and that you owned it, then all right, fine. But then there's people that are so entrenched in the devil's work that they're raping children. Do you understand that these are the times that we're in? The government of the United Kingdom went after Tommy Robinson because he stood up and defended children against rape. That's who the UK is now. They are persecuting a man who is standing in defense of the defenseless. Children. That's where we're at right now. Barack Obama lost over 20,000 kids at the border that are most likely, every single one of them is now either dead or suffering in the sex slave industry. That's where we're at right now. The Clinton Foundation raised something like $3 billion or something like that for Haiti. And they built like 3 tiny houses or something like that. It's very little money went to Haiti. And then there's all these allegations that they were taking Haitian children and selling them off into the sex slave industry. And the woman who was working for the Clintons, who was going to break that news, all of a sudden decided to kill herself. These are very dark times. And it's coming. You know what I mean? It's this battle has only just begun. You're only now just starting to see like, oh, there's real enemies. And some of these enemies are my own countrymen. When you see, okay, all right, let me break off into a next segment here. Next segment, the yellow vests in France. When you see the footage of the police who are in body armor that are severely beating the elderly and grabbing women by the hair and throwing them around and beating people that don't stand a chance against them, you have to remember that those are human beings that are in that body armor. Those are men who have decided that they will turn against their own countrymen for money, for the security of knowing that they will still be employed tomorrow, that they will continue to receive a paycheck so that they can buy their food and pay for their mortgage, send their kids to school and pay for the things that they want in their lives. Those are dogs. Dogs are loyal like that. Let me tell you something about the yellow vest. For those of you in America, this is coming, and it's already here. We saw it with the arrest of Roger Stone. Those FBI agents, those are people that have a very good job, a very good, high-paying government job. Hold on, I have to block another one of these stupid. I don't know why on Telegram I keep getting these like Arabic. Anyways, it doesn't matter. The mind of a dog. Right? What does a dog do? You know, a dog loves you. A dog is sad every time you leave. A dog is very excited every time you come back around. Right? A dog is loyal. You want to know why? It's because you are the food. The reason your dog panics so much when you leave is because that dog knows, I don't know how to feed myself. And when you come back, that dog knows, like, oh, cool, I get to eat again. You represent provision to that dog, and therefore that dog is loyal to you. It's a beautiful thing. Works out great. Not so much in people, though. When people have that kind of loyalty, well, they will do anything for their master because they know that by themselves, they don't know how to feed themselves. That's a dangerous proposition. When you have yellow vest, people protesting in nonviolent ways, right? These people are just showing up and they're saying, look, enough of this. You can't just take our money. France has a long and glorious history of these kind of things happening. You put it to you this way. There was a reporter that was interviewing Joseph Stalin. This was years ago, right? Decades and decades ago. At the height of Joseph Stalin's power, and he was sitting there in the Kremlin or wherever. And the lady was asking, this reporter was asking him, like, well, how is it like you've got all these tens of millions of people starving to death, and yet you don't seem to change your policy? Like what do you think's going on here? Like, why is it that you can't seem to figure out like how to take care of people? And in the room, he had a chicken, a pet chicken. He says, "Look, I'll show you. This is by the way, this is documented. And you have to think about this, right? Remember who Joseph Stalin was. He was a liberal. He went to France. He was good looking and handsome. He was a young man. He went to France to go to college. He was a liberal. He got way into Marx. He was a big fan of, he was an understudy, and he was a disciple of Vladimir Lenin. And he believed, like, man, we need to take care of everybody, man. We need socialism. We need the union of the Soviet Socialist Republic. This has to work." And the lady's asking him, like, well, this is going very badly. There's just millions and millions of people starving to death. And Stalin picks up this pet chicken, and he says, look, he takes the chicken and he starts tearing feathers out of it. And every time he tear the feathers out, the little chicken would scream. And he says, now watch. And he puts the chicken back down, and he grabs some bird feed, and he holds it down, and the little chicken comes back up and starts pecking at the food. And he says to the lady, he says, listen, no matter how much I torture this chicken will still love me, and it will still come back to me because I feed it. That happened. That is a documented thing that happened. These people that dress up in their police uniforms, in their battle gear, and start beating up their fellow citizens in France, they are the chicken. That's where we're at. That's how these people see you. That's these useful idiots like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's just a chicken. That's how they see you. The way that they see it is that if you starve to death, it's because you're a bad person. You don't believe in climate change, and in fact, you should die. You're a science denier. You should die. When the FBI decides to raid Roger Stone's house for the high crime of receiving an email and put that arrest on national television so all the world can see, like, hey, chicken, if you don't want your feathers plucked, you better stand in line. You better, or like, not stand in line, but get in line. You understand? That's what's happening, and it's going to get worse. These people have gotten drunk with power. That's how they justify going after Tommy Robinson. Well, they plucked his feathers and he did not come back for the food. Right? William Wallace, they plucked his feathers, right? They went and they had sex with his wife, they raped his wife, and he did not come back for the food. These people, these Americans who swore an oath to protect their fellow Americans, the FBI and the CIA and your local police and your sheriffs and your marshals. Listen, I would hazard a guess that most of those people are good, godly people. But there is an element of evil in those organizations as well, just as there is in every organization. The battle between light and darkness is everywhere. We just saw that again in the big, Southern Baptist Church. Was that a week ago? Where hundreds of ministers and volunteers and all these people, they were all accused of sexual misconduct. Many of which involved children, even a 3-year-old. Right? That happened in the Baptist church. There's nowhere for you to run where the battle between good and evil isn't present. It happened in the Baptist church. It's happening in the Baptist church. It is happening in the Roman Catholic Church. It is happening in the Irish Catholic Church. It is happening in the Russian Orthodox Church. It is happening everywhere. You better keep your guard up. Whatever church that you go to, there is a battle between good and evil happening there, and you better keep your eye on it. And you better keep it in prayer. And you better pray to God that God gives you spiritual insight about the protection of your children. And you must have extreme prejudice. There is no, listen, these people, I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, I will train, you know, my eldest boy is just starting to he's getting very close to talking. I will teach all of my children. Even if you know, the two sons that I have is all that I'm ever going to have, I will teach my children, you must always come to us and tell us what's on your mind. If anything seems out of place, you need to come and tell us. And I would assume that most of you are like that. When you teach your children, like, listen, there's a crazy world out there. And if anything seems off to you, son, you come and you tell me. You come to dad and you tell me. Anybody touches my kid, they're dead. Anybody. That's, you know, like that you. If there's ministers out there who try to manipulate my children and distort the face of Jesus for my kids, you're dead. I'll go to prison. Whatever. You're not doing that. There will be a firm plant in the ground of my foot where if my kids grow up and their dad is in prison for killing somebody that sexually molested them, they will know that their dad is their hero. You touch my kids, you die. These socialists that are trying more and more to gain control of other people's kids and gain control of parental rights, you're dead. You are dead. Kamala Harris can pass as many lynching laws as she wants. You come after my kids, and I will be judge and jury. And prosecution and defense and everything. Very strange times that we're living in, and you better be on your toes, man. There's lies coming at you from every direction. And there's truth as well. You listen. The truth is there. You know the truth. You know that you were meant to be free. You know that it is your God-given right to defend yourself. We know that because every human being has a fight or flight response built into him. That is verification that God has given you the right and the obligation to defend yourself. God has given you a voice, therefore you must speak. It is a right and an obligation. These freedoms that you have, they bear responsibility. Responsibility to yourself, you're responsible to your children, and you are responsible to your community. Come together in community. That's the way. Come together in community. Stay in fellowship with your fellow Christians and talk about these things. And if you're in some place like Minnesota, where the Methodist Church just announced, 2 gay lesbian ministers. Okay, listen. You're going to have to dig a little harder. All right, the churches in Minnesota and California and other places, like they've gotten way off. They're way out there. You go to those churches, and again, listen, I know that there's, one of the listeners has one of their kids going to a Methodist, like school, like a private school. It's not the same everywhere. Not every Southern Baptist church is that way. Not every Methodist church is that way. Not every Lutheran church is that way. They tend to be in certain areas. San Francisco, Minnesota, Michigan, these kind of places, super liberal places. If you're in one of those places, you better pay even more attention. Because when your church leadership is embracing sodomy, then your children are in danger in those places. Why would you put your children in greater danger than what's already available and on the table? These are the days that we're living in. Hey, Scotland, you're not going to win. This thing you just tipped your whole hand. What you're truly after. You hate the truth so much that now you've taken a woman who was with her babies and arrested her in front of her children and incarcerated her for 7 hours. Hey, Scotland, you're done. Enter William Wallace. You watch how many William Wallaces stand up in Scotland and stand against their government. You see what's happening in England right now. Tommy Robinson is not alone. The children of the light are standing, and we will win, no matter how many of us they take out. And those of us that get taken out get the privilege of having our songs sung throughout all of the rest of recorded history. It's a beautiful thing, and we always win. God always wins. That's the show for today. Listen, if you want to support the show, you can go on to paypal.me/archavocate. That's paypal.me/archavocate. Please do support the show, and please share it with a friend. That's the show for today, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.